Danielle Robinson, widow of FFC Heath Robinson. Oh, I asked for you to come. Where are you?
I'm right there.
Thank you. I saw your picture and I said to Beal and Stewart, if we could get you to come, that would be great. Sherrod Brown's going to be at the hearing and talk about you. I mentioned it. Okay. She's from Ohio.
We were on a cruise when she got the call, and we weren't going to answer our phones, but it was John Field, so I told her she better answer.
Yeah. Yes, right?
Yes. We did have a Zoom last week, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Well, your memory is better than mine. Okay. All right. We have the Wounded Warrior Project here. We have the Military Officers Association of America here. We have the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Disabled American Veterans. Without these groups, we wouldn't be here. Because today we're at a turning point, a very important turning point. Over the last 2 decades of war in Iraq and Afghanistan and beyond, America's always claimed that there was no expense too great, no treasure too precious for us to pay to defend our freedom and our American way of life. Thousands of men and women, hundreds of thousands of men and women answered that call, leaving behind their families, putting their lives on the line. But until now, we have refused to face up to one of the biggest costs of those wars, and that is the health care needs of veterans who fought and sacrificed on our behalf. When there's war, there's all kinds of things you're not aware of, and people suffer. It's our job to make sure we take care of them once they come back. And we're not going to rest until we do, with burn pits and all of the other illnesses that people acquired because they fought for us and risked their lives for us and risked their freedom for us. So today we're here to say enough is enough. Our veterans deserve a hell of a lot better than to have to claw their way through government bureaucracies just to get the basic benefits they earned, to treat conditions they incurred in their service. The idea that you have to go through this lengthy thing and have lawyers and presumptions and all that other, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that other bull, yeah, it's public press. All that other bullshit.
He meant bullshit.
He said it, not me. Is too much. Too much. So the Honoring Our Pact Act is going to make sure we finally deliver the benefits, the high health quality care our veterans deserve without jumping through hoops. As Senate Majority Leader, I'm here to say unequivocally, no doubt, I will fully support the Honoring Our Pact Act, and the Senate will vote on it this Congress. Everyone is going to have to show where they stand and whose side they are on. The side of these brave people or of some bureaucrat, faceless, nameless bureaucrat. We're going to be forever indebted to those who serve. So, the Honoring Pact Act will finally allow us to honor our commitments to these heroes and the tens of thousands like them who are not represented here, but they are represented here by all of us. We ask these people to risk their lives for us. They volunteer and do it. And then they come back sick because of an exposure, and we're supposed to say to them, oh, go hire a lawyer, go through 20 years, you may die first before we're going to own up to it? No way. And we're going to get the VA. I spoke to McDonough yesterday. I told him that this is going to happen. He said he's for it. And you'll hear him today at the hearing at 3:30. Do we know the room number, Dilly or some, Monica? Well, okay, it's at 3:30. We'll let you, and anyone who doesn't know the room number, call our office. We'll give it to you. And we're going to get this done once and for all. So let me now call up 2 outstanding advocates, the 2 Johns. We worked together. It took us a long time to help those who rushed to the pile to get the medical treatment they needed and deserved. It's the same kind of battle here, and it's great to have these 2 people as allies, as leaders, fighting for us. John and John.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, sir. John?
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if you know this, we're on lockdown today, and I hope you all had escorts to come in, because I didn't, and I've been here since last night. So this is sort of simple. I mean, you see the entire veterans community standing together, united as one, to get this done. And it's going to come down to what it always comes down to here. We need 10 Republicans. That's it. After 20 years of fighting, this is what it comes down to. 10 Republicans. We get that, and the veterans finally get the health care and the benefits that they fought so hard for, that they earned, that they're sick and dying for. We've got, damn, we wanted Kate Hendricks to be here today. She came and testified just 3-4 weeks ago, but she can't be here today because she's in hospice. That's what this is about. We can't wait any longer. This delay is unconscionable, and you're going to have a hearing today, and you're going to hear a lot of nonsense about, is this responsible? They're all going to say the same thing. We want to do it. We want to support the veterans, but we want to do it the right way. We want to be responsible. You know what would have been nice? If they had been responsible 20 years ago and hadn't spent trillions of dollars on overseas adventures, if they had been responsible and hadn't spent billions of dollars for defense contractors to poison our own troops, if they had been responsible and understood that 20 years of war was going to create an overflow and an influx of sick veterans paying the consequences of those wars. They had their chance to be responsible, and they blew it. And now, the first responsible thing that's been done is the PACT Act. Written carefully, fought for 15 years, put together meticulously with input from the entire veterans community, from the active service. They could have been responsible when the Pentagon issued a memo in 2008 saying a shitstorm is coming. We're poisoning our veterans. This is grave. Let's do something. They could have been responsible in the 70s when they banned this kind of thing in the United States. You want to do it here? Let's dig a giant fucking pit, 10 acres long, and burn everything in Washington with jet fuel. And then let me know how long they want to wait before they think it's going to cause some health problems. Here's the bottom line. You cannot be America first when you put veterans last. And it stops. And these guys are going to get it done. Thank you.
I'm not going to curse. I'm the classy John. We're close. We're closer than we've ever been. Because the village moved the needle. But if I could talk to the cameras and talk to America, we need everybody to contact their senators. Everybody, starting today, contact their senators, Democrats or Republicans, doesn't matter. And tell them to support the Honor in the PACT Act. Tell them to support the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Honor in your PACT Act. Don't tell them. Implore them. Force them. Be pain in the asses. If you need a blue book on how to be a pain in the ass, come see me. But you need to get on Twitter, social media, email, phone, and contact your senators. We've already taken the science and the money out of this. This is now about implementation. If that's your biggest holdup, then that's a good problem to have. But if you're elected to office or you're appointed and you can't figure out implementation, then perhaps maybe you should not be in office, or perhaps you should not have been appointed. These men and women, none of them right now, are going to have a problem waiting a month or two if this bill passes. Work on the implementation with these VSOs. Some of them have great ideas. You know, 12 years ago, you guys held my arms up. You pulled it right out of my shoulder socket. And we got a 9/11 bill passed the first time. And then a year later, you had me come back for the interoperability bill. Right. And then you said, John, do this for Senator Rockefeller and me, and I'll owe you one. And I'm asking you today, I'm cashing in my favor, Chuck, put this bill on the floor and force feed them this bill. Force feed them this bill, and let's see who is a fucking American. Let's see who is truly a patriot. Not some bullshit people that attack capitals, but help veterans. Thank you.
Okay.
With that being said, my dear best friend, Senator Kirsten, oh, I love you, Gillibrand.
I love you too. Thank you so much, John, for your passion and your dedication to this cause. Thank you to John Stewart as well for his passion and dedication to the men and women who have served, never giving up. I want to thank Senator Schumer for leading this effort in the Senate to making sure that our veterans and their families and our service members are heard. I want to thank Congressman Ruiz for leading the charge in the House, for never giving up and never giving in, and making sure this is the best possible bill we could write for our veterans. I want to thank our advocates and our families who are all standing here with pictures of their loved ones, many who have already passed away, many who are still struggling. Burn Pits 360, IAVA, VFW, Wounded Warrior Project, Disabled American Veterans, every veterans organization under the sun supports this bill. This is the moment. We have to do right by the men and women who do everything for this country, who put their lives on the line, who will give their life. Why are they waiting to get health care that they earned the minute they became service members? As John and John have both said, as Senator Schumer has said, this is the cost of war, period. When we send our troops all around the globe to defend democracy, to fight for our freedoms, to defeat terrorism, this is the promise we make them. You serve today, we take care of you tomorrow. That is our oath. And we have not stood by our service members. Our VA is not providing the health care that they are due. Our service members are not. Rest assured that we have their backs, that we have their well-being in mind. We've seen this story before. We saw it when we're fighting against Agent Orange and making sure our Agent Orange veterans get access to health care, against the Blue Water Navy veterans who needed access to that health care, to our 9/11 first responders who needed access to that health care and those benefits that they earned. These men and women served in some of the toughest areas around the globe. We know what toxins were released at these burn pits. We know that the smoldering toxins set fire by jet fuel, of plastics, of human waste, of medical waste, of building materials, of clothing, of any type of item, computers, electronics that could be burned, was burned. And those are the same things that were burned on 9/11. So that's why we know the toxins that were released cause these cancers. And that's why having a presumption that if you served and you're sick, you are covered. That is our promise. That's what this bill does, and that's why we're here today.
Thank you, Kirsten, who accomplished it all without a single curse word.
Good afternoon. The gloves are coming off today, my friends. The gloves are coming off. I'm Congressman Dr. Raul Ruiz, and I represent California's 36th Congressional District. I'm an emergency physician, a public health expert, a proud member of the House VA Committee, and founder and co-chair of the bipartisan bicameral Congressional Burn Pits Caucus. Before I get started, I want to thank all the service members and all the veterans that are here and their families, holding up signs, honoring their loved ones who have either passed or are 100% disabled, and all those veterans who are in hospital beds, in hospices right now, taking their last breaths, thinking that their time is too late, but who have promised to fight this fight till the very last so that other veterans don't experience what they've experienced. I'd like to thank Leader Schumer for his vow to get this on the Senate floor for a vote, for Senator Gillibrand for partnering and being a fierce advocate for veterans, and for the Johns who have brought star power and power rocket fuel to this movement, and with all the other VSOs speaking in one voice. I stand here because of the complete bravery of a veteran in my district, Jennifer Kepner from the Air Force, who died of pancreatic cancer due to exposure to burn pits. And in her deathbed and in that kitchen table conversation, we talked about the need to ensure that other veterans don't experience what she experienced. And it was her vision to protect other veterans from the pain and suffering she experienced, which is reflected in this bill that we gather here today to discuss. This afternoon, the veterans in the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee will take up the Honoring Our Pact Act, a comprehensive bill that would improve care and benefits for veterans suffering from exposure to burn pits and other toxins while serving abroad. The Honoring Our Pact Act passed in the House earlier this month with strong bipartisan support. Yes, over 30 Republican House members voted for this bill. Now, many of you like me saying, what? That's it? Only 30? Only 30? We should have seen the vast majority of every House member vote for this bill. We need more than platitudes and flag hugging to show our patriotism. We need pragmatic solidarity and support for our veterans, and this bill is a way to show that pragmatic, real support. So now we call on the Senate Republicans to support this bill. From Florida to Pennsylvania to Alaska, we need our Senate Republican members to join their House Republican colleagues in backing the Honoring Our Pact Act and passing legislation. And let me repeat this because this is going to be the key. This is going to be the pivotal point of this fight, is passing legislation that does not include a presumption of service connection would be a dereliction of duty to our veterans. Anything less than presumption is fluff and symbolic. So we must hold the line for our veterans in giving them presumption, like we have asked our service members and veterans in the battlefield to hold the line for our freedoms. So our service members and veterans put their lives on the line to protect us. The least, the absolute least that we can do is ensure that they are cared for when they return home. With that, I want to invite Danielle Robinson to the podium.
I would like to thank Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, and Congressman Ruiz for today. I'd also like to thank the changing of the Honoring Our Pact Act to the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Honoring Our Pact Act. When I had to call hospice in to come into our house and start the process of helping my husband die, he said, "I don't know how to give up. I don't know how to take my last breath." I need all of you senators to understand what it is like to lay on the floor underneath your dying husband for 7 hours, helping him die. If you pass this Honoring Our Pact Act, you are going to help so many veterans who are in the same situation on hospice right now, for those that may have to come, and hopefully to take care of those that have cancers that can be curable. I ask you to do your duty and pass this.
Well said. Thank you so much. Who's next?
I was going to ask a question at the end, but can I ask it now?
Whenever.
Real quick. I'm Danielle Robinson's mother and Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson's mother-in-law. I moved in with my daughter and son-in-law for the last 8 months of his life to help care for him. They were denied VA caregiver benefits. She had to take an unpaid leave from her physical therapy job to care for her husband. On the last couple days before he passed, when he told Danielle he didn't know how to give up because he was a soldier. She held him for 7 hours on the floor while he fought to continue breathing. He never gave up till he took his last breath. What I am asking, not the two senators here because I know how you stand, but I'm asking my question to every other senator out there: Are you going to vote yes on this bill, or are you going to give up and vote no? Thank you.
Well done. Thank you, Ms.
Sorry,
Okay.
that's okay.
Sorry, Ms. Sire.
That's okay.
Okay, next on the list is Shane Learman. Come on up, Shane.
Good afternoon. I'm Shane Learman, Deputy Legislative Director for the Disabled American Veterans. And on behalf of our 1 million members, we fully support the Honoring Our Pact Act. It is going to do things that have never been done before when it comes to comprehensive toxic exposure. It's going to provide health care. That's right, health care for those exposed to burn pits and toxins. It's also going to provide presumptive diseases. What was that? Yes, presumptive diseases. It's time to end the delay of service connection for benefits. It's also going to give us a framework for the future. It's important, not just for veterans today, but past generations and our future generations of veterans, that we get this done now. We have a historic opportunity, and it's to enact this legislation now. Veterans and their families can't afford to wait any longer, not like past generations that waited years for exposure to radiation, contaminated water, Agent Orange. We can't wait any longer. As noted historian C. Northcote Parkinson said, delay is the deadliest form of denial. We must act now. Thank you.
Skip Tom Porter.
Tom Porter is next from the Iraq and Afghan Veterans Association. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir. So thank you, Leader Schumer. We appreciate your promise to bring this to a vote. It means a lot to us. Senator Gillibrand for having our backs all this time. I said this on other issues, but being completely relentless in terms of pursuing this. And Congressman Ruiz has been at the table with us for years now, helping us craft this legislation. The survivors and the victims that are here with us today. I also want to say that the Johns didn't have to be here today. It was after our Victims Compensation Fund fight. We're at the press conference with the speaker, and afterwards, John Stewart came up to me and he said, "We're going to do burn pits next," and that was in 2019. And I was wondering if he was serious, and he's here today still, so he's not going to let go either until we're done with this. So I'm happy that I have the people here that we're here with today. We've been meeting with Senate offices recently, and what struck me is a recent conversation by one of the offices, the staffer said, we know that the House likes to pass a lot of stuff that really hasn't fully baked, and what's wrong with the bill, and I told him that there's nothing wrong with the bill. This is a great bill. We've all worked on this bill. This bill didn't get its start in a House or Senate office or within the party headquarters behind us across the way. This bill got its start by veterans, by service members, by families and survivors. We all got together several years ago with the express purpose of building comprehensive legislation. It was about 2018 where we started getting together, formed a coalition, got to know each other, started putting down on the chalkboard things that we thought were important to us, survivors, veterans, and service members. And then now that we've got the bill that we have today, there were several bills that got introduced, but the House and Senate committee chairman took the best of those bills, and that's where you have the PACT Act. That's where you see the Cost of War Act over in the Senate. So we're not going to give up until this is done. Now we're on the verge of passing comprehensive legislation that does the key things we needed to get done. VA health care benefits, disability benefits, and a framework for establishing new presumptive illnesses in the years to come. So it's really important to us. So I want you to please also, standing behind me also, besides all the veterans groups, we've got Shane from DAV, who you talked to saw already. You got Christina from VFW, and they're going to be testifying at 3:30 today. So please tune in. If you can't be in the hearing room, please tune into the live stream because they've got great things to say, and we eagerly anticipate their testimony. Also, today being what it is today, I want to give a final salute to Army veteran Don Young. He's lying in state right behind us in the rotunda of the Capitol building. It looks like he brought some Alaska with him today, so we have this weather to thank him for. Also, what you all should note is that one of his last votes on the House floor was in favor of the PACT Act when it was passed by the House. He was one of 34 Republicans that voted for it. And so a big salute to Army veteran Don Young and in his last time here in the Capitol today. He did the right thing. So thank you all for being here. Everybody that's here behind us represents all the veteran and military groups. We all support this bill. See everybody that's standing in that open field over there? Those are the people that oppose the bill. It's an easy choice for everybody to make. Thank you. And then we have Ashley Burns. Next, please.
Ashley not coming.
Okay.
Corey Titus. Corey's here.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, Congressman Ruiz, John Stewart, John Phil, and all the other veterans advocates, survivors that are here to come out and support this bill. My name is Corey Titus. I'm the Director of Veteran Benefits at the Military Officers Association of America. The Honoring Our PACT bill is the bill that our veterans need. It cares for those who have sacrificed and are still sacrificing for our nation, and fundamentally changes how we respond to toxic exposures. This bill offers the health care, the process reforms, and recognizes the presumptive illness that Mo and every other major veteran group have been fighting for years. The House has passed it, our president has said that he'll sign it, and now we need our senators to act. I ask every veteran, survivor, and everyone in their family to reach out to their senators, reach out to their elected representatives, and continue to fight for this and tell them that we need this bill passed. They need to hear your story and how toxic exposures have harmed your lives. That's it. We need to get this bill into law, and we need to take care of those who have served and fundamentally change how we as a nation approach toxic exposures. Thank you so much for all your support and for being here today on this important issue.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you. So I believe Trev. Nope. Mike's.
He's not there. Mike's not here.
Mike's not.
Okay, so Travis Horn.
Yep. Travis, did you have something, or Christina Keenan with next we have Christina Keenan with the VFW.
My name is Christina Keenan, and I'm the Associate Director for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Toxic exposures have affected every generation of service members in all conflicts, in all eras. The Honoring Our PACT Act addresses veterans who have been waiting far too long. From unrecognized locations where Agent Orange was sprayed during the Vietnam War, to radiation cleanup, to water contamination at Fort McClellan and PFAS at domestic bases. This, of course, includes burn pits and airborne hazards, which have affected millions of veterans who served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other locations. During a Senate Armed Services Committee hearing on toxic exposures 2 weeks ago, the Department of Defense was asked how many service members that deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan would have been exposed to airborne hazards and burn pits. The response? All of them. Why is there so much concern about how VA is going to implement this bill and how they're going to handle all the veterans that are seeking health care and benefits? Ask yourself that. Why is this so huge? It's because of the enormous damage that service members sustained at war and the years of inaction and neglect of the problem. Let's work to provide VA the resources it needs to implement the PACT Act and not delay any longer. We ask that Congress pass the PACT Act by this Memorial Day.
Okay, who's next?
Alex.
Okay, next person, our last speaker is Alex Morosky.
There's one more after that.
One more after
Isaiah is after that.
Oh, okay. And Mindy.
And Mindy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mindy, Isaiah after Alex.
Come on, Senator, get your action.
I'm sorry. No, Isaiah.
There he is.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alex Morosky with Wounded Warrior Project. I want to thank Senator Schumer and Senator Gillibrand, Jon Stewart and John Field, Danielle Robinson, our fellow VSOs, and all the veterans that are here today. Like so many, I'm a post 9/11 veteran. I was in the Army, and I did 2 tours in Iraq. And when you're over there, you think about a lot of dangers. You think about roadside bombs and enemy fire, and you don't just think about yourself, you think about the buddies on your left and your right. And what you really didn't think about were burn pits, or the fumes that you're always breathing. They're always just there, and they become part of life. I know an Army helicopter pilot who talks about how they would use the smoke from the burn pits as waypoints when they were flying over Iraq, because you could see the smoke from the burn pits long before you could see the bases themselves. Of course, he was living near the burn pits as well as flying over them, and he left the Army with a chronic respiratory condition, even though he had no other risk factors. I also know a Marine who was a dog handler. His unit actually used the burn pits as a training area between missions. The idea was to confuse the dog's nose to see if they could still sniff out bomb-making materials next to the toxic fumes. He's now in his mid-30s and he's dying of pancreatic cancer. Just about every base over there was like a town or a small city. Like Jon Stewart alluded to, imagine if every town in the United States had a burn pit the size of a football field where people were told every day to go burn all of their waste after it had been sprayed with jet fuel. Of course, that would never be allowed to happen because we know about the serious health consequences, but military operations, especially in combat, require that we operate in some of the harshest environments. And so that's the situation that veterans faced over the past 20 years. And now far too many of them have disabling respiratory diseases or cancers, just to name a few, and they're struggling. If you can't breathe, you can't live your life. You can't work. If you're undergoing treatment for cancer, you can't live your life. You can't work. You can't support your family. So understandably, they need help. And our country owes it to them. Some of them can't wait much longer, and we can't keep telling them to wait. We're only asking for their exposures and their illnesses to be recognized, and for Congress to do the same thing for our generation as it's done for previous generations of exposed veterans. No more, no less. We're asking Congress to pass the Honoring Our Pact Act. Thank you.
Isaiah.
Sing it now.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Isaiah James.
You don't have to bend. Hold on. Let's take this off.
Yeah.
Mike stand was set
There
up
we
by
go.
Jewish people.
There you go. Hello? No, it's not working. All right, hello. My name is Isaiah James. I'm the Senior Communications and Policy Director with the Black Veterans Project. I'm also an advocate with Burn Pitch 360. All morning you've heard about why we need to pass this bill. So I'm going to ask the 100 senators who now are in charge of this bill, what do they see when they look at us? Do they see a collection of uniforms and pawns to be moved around the board? What I see is mothers and fathers and sons and daughters, children and grandparents. We are a family. We are a tight-knit family, but we have an estranged member of that family. He's an uncle, and his name is Sam, and he's been missing in action. He only calls on us when he needs something, but he seems to never contribute to the upkeep of the family. Those 100 senators who are now going to take this bill up, the fate is in your hands now. The American people are watching. You taught us as veterans to fight harder and to go further and to never give up. We're not coming with hat in hand. This is the shot across the bow. We're letting you know that this bill is going to be passed. We're not asking you to pass the Honoring Our Pact Act. We're telling you you're going to pass the Honoring Our Pact Act because for too long you have told us to go in your name, and for too long you have forgotten who we are and what we stand for. So now on this day, with the world watching, with the families here behind you, it's up to you. And just know, if somehow you falter on your duty, if somehow you come up with a reason why this is too expensive, we're not going away. We will be back. You have our demands. Hoorah!
Well spoken, Brooklyn. All right, wrap it up.
Challenge
challenge you. So, hi, my name is Mindy Byer. 21 years ago, the ladies that you see to my left and right and myself met Kate Hendricks Thomas at Officer Candidate School in August of 2001. We've been best friends ever since. 4 years ago, our Marine Corps sister, now Dr. Kate Hendricks Thomas, went in for a routine checkup. She was 38 years old. She had no symptoms. The nurse noticed some strange markers and suggested that she get a scan. Kate had been stationed in Fallujah for 6 months, living right around the burn pits as a military police officer. Her scan showed that Kate had metastases on every bone in her body. Stage 4, with what had begun as breast cancer. The doctors told her she looked like she'd been dipped in something. As it turns out, that's how jet fuel works. The effects are cumulative. Kate had a PhD in public health, and she used her knowledge to research burn pits and testify to push this legislation through, along with the early mammogram bill, which has just been renamed for her, the Dr. Kate Hendricks Thomas Service Act. She fought for her own care, and she fought for her brothers and sisters in arms. She fought for the future of her young son, who is 7 years old now and about to lose his mom. She went to chemo every week for 4 years. 4 years of nausea and pain in front of her 6-year-old. Kate was just here 4 weeks ago testifying, but her liver is failing now, and she went into hospice 2 weeks ago. So now it's your turn. As Marines, it is an honor to pick up the flag for someone who knew from the get-go that she would die holding the line. Kate has done that for us, and now we need to carry on the mission for her. Please pass the PACT Act. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.